This conference will now be recorded.
I
Go
was
ahead.
recording.
Yep, we're
Now I was going to
recording.
ask about like Kubernetes. Is that something you just specialize in specifically, or are there like other things to learn with it besides
It,
like containers?
yeah. So have you ever been to Kubernetes.io?
No.
All right. Oh, come on, Kubernetes. Oh, Kubernetes. Uh. All right, let's go back over here to training. Okay, so you have three different ones, right? You have the administrator, which basically what you're doing is you could possibly be installing, standing up vanilla Kubernetes. When I say vanilla, you would literally come here and download Kubernetes, install it, administer it, get people set up on it, do there are some security aspects that you'll do with it, from that standpoint. The other standpoint is application developer. So the application developer is more like, hey, I have Spring Boot, or I have Java or Ruby or Python, and I have these services that I want to deploy to the cluster. And so you deploy these services onto the cluster, right? And so once you deploy these services on to the cluster, you're pretty much managing, developing uh, APIs, applications on here, right? And there's a certification for this, certification for that, and then the security specialist. Now I want to secure the Kubernetes cluster, the applications. I want to look at threat modeling and so forth. So that's where you fall into place of that. So this one right here this comes out of the Linux Foundation. You have Mirantis. Let's look up Mirantis. Come on, let me get this. All right, so Mirantis has a training too for Kubernetes right here. All right, so let's go. Let me see. Do they have their training up here? Mirantis Openstack for Kubernetes training. Instructor led or on demand. Let's look at certification. Okay, so they have the same thing. They have the CKA exam, Certified Kubernetes Administrator. DCA, this exam is a multi-tier professional certification that supports DCA, and COA, this is the OpenStack one. So let's get DCA. This is the Docker certification. So if you want to get Docker, so they have the CKA, which is your Kubernetes administrator exam, right? So there's that one. Then on top of that, Red Hat has their one, which is Openshift. All right. So now you're starting to look at, okay, well, what is it like to deploy OpenShift? What is it like to because OpenShift runs on top of Kubernetes. So if you look at it, let me see. I think this should be okay to look at. Trying to find a picture. All right. Come on in. You can't focus on? No? Okay. It's horrible. All right, we'll stay here. So you can see you got Red Hat Linux as the operating system. And then they start talking about the Kubernetes right here. You see that? Container orchestration and cluster management, application lifecycle, then build automation, deployment automation, language service catalog, self-service, and then they have the containers on top of that. So basically, this right here is where you start to see not Kubernetes, but OpenShift play, and then Kubernetes down here, and managing the networking, the storage, and the log metrics and security. And then you have the OCI container runtime as well, and then Red Hat, and then they start talking about atomic hosts. So let's go back. and look here, go Red Hat Atomic Host. All right, so here, to try to give you a difference here, the Atomic Host is a variant of Red Hat Linux server enterprise designed to optimize to run as containers. So basically, I can get a Red Hat Atomic Host, and you have access to the Atomic Host to inside your developer account, or you can download a container, an Atomic Host container of RHEL 8 or RHEL 7, and then play with it. And so they talk about the biggest differences here with the Atomic Host and so forth. I give you this. You may need a Red Hat as account in order to do that. Okay, I can't post. There we go. Here we go again. Now I can't post. That's awesome. So let me open up Slack because I can't post. And I'm gonna drop this inside of RECSA static channel, just because you can have that as an idea of what you can do of the differences. All right. So when you're talking about getting, I know some people are asking like what you missed. We posted it last week. CC, I see you say you're gonna learn Kubernetes. You should. We're gonna. That's the goal. That's the ultimate goal for us to get to, is to do RHCSA, RHCE, the Ansible platform, and then OpenStack or Openshift, depending on who you are, and what you're interested in, to get there. And the reason why I say OpenStack, because OpenStack has a lot of things that go with it, and then you could actually throw OpenShift on top of OpenStack. And so you can do like this OpenStack with Openshift. And if you look at images, there are talk about how this is laid out. See the hardware, then you have OpenStack, and then you drop OpenShift on top of OpenStack. The significance here is OpenStack then manages, you could take commodity hardware, so bare metal machines, and then you can manage it with the bare metal machines with Ironic and so forth. And so then you have these VMs and stuff that you create. You also have a web interface. It becomes like a self-service model. So basically, it is the on-prem cloud that you would have if you were doing AWS. And then if you wanted Kubernetes, like you have a GKE, or if you want to have GKE, or if you want to have Azure, um, was it ACS, AKE? I forget this. I think it's ACS. I think I'm getting it all wrong too. But anyway, you will have that on top to mimic basically your AWS or your Azure Kubernetes and self-service model in the cloud. But this will be on-prem. But you could also run these in the cloud as well too, if you wanted to stay within the same brand. If if you're following that model, like, hey, I want to use everything Red Hat, I want to use everything AWS, I want to use everything there. And then last but not least of all these is Tanzu. Right. So now if you look here, this comes from VMware. This is how Tanzu is running. Namespaces, service namespaces, vCenter. So basically underneath is EXI right here, and then on top of that you have Kubernetes clusters running here, and then you're doing some managing over here. So that's a general overview of the different Kubernetes certifications that you can get and play with. Tanzu is fairly new, so they're still looking to ramp up people on Tanzu. The Kubernetes, just the vanilla right here, it's been out for a minute. So KubeCon is coming up. KubeCon is coming up in 2021, May 4th through the 7th. And a virtual event. I advise you to attend. They have scholarships if you want to apply for the scholarships. Big, huge on diversity and inclusion. You can check out their schedule here, and go from there. I would go to this. GitOps and Red Hat most definitely build GKE with Anthos. So I've talked about this before. GKE is out inside of the cloud, right? And so you can have an on-prem, and this is what Azure, not Azure, this is Google's answer to being on-prem with Anthos. And then the next one is Tanzu is the fight with being on-prem as well too. So before it was Red Hat, they had the market corner with Kubernetes on-prem with Openshift. So these Anthos and um, Tanzu is that fight, to get to win the war on-prem as well too. So I would check out Cloud Native, Linux Foundation, Cloud Native, and KubeCon, and just attend them and get some information, and go from there. So so let's move on from, if there not any questions, let me go on from OpenShift. Are y'all ready to move on from OpenShift, OpenStack, Kubernetes? You can type a 1 in the chat. All right, cool. All right. So next thing I want to talk about was, I don't know if you saw this post. I posted it in general. Kind of solidifies why we're doing what we're doing, and why we are going down this road. So I posted a link right here. All right, so in this, let me, all right, in this, I posted and said, okay, look, they are now have guidance to say CentOS Linux end of life. So what does that mean? What they're saying is, hey, everybody who's been using in the federal government space, all you agencies that have been using CentOS, kill it. You're now going to be moved over to Red Hat. You must use Red Hat. And so what does that mean is everybody's going to be looking for people to help them migrate from CentOS to Linux. What does that mean? That means more jobs. What does that mean? Your certification has weight. So when next person asks me about, like, CentOS or whatnot, the answer would be no. Just go and get RECSA. Stay the course. Right? And then the other thing is, they're saying, like, if your operating system that you choose doesn't have support, we're not using it. All right. So this just makes your wait for your RHCSA, your RHCE even more, I guess, meatier, if you want to call it that, if you want to say that. They said additionally, modules running any version of CentOS lack the FIPS 140 validation, and FedRAMP cannot accept FIPS 140 validation assertions of these modules on the CentOS platform, including CentOS 7. So even if you're on CentOS 7, we're not taking that. And they trying to get everybody out of here by the end of December. So, I don't know. What does that sound like to y'all? Sound like money to me? Sound like money to me. Okay. All right, cool. That's what it sounds like to me, money to me. All right, so next thing I want to talk about was this. So I've been doing interviews. I know, you know what? Hold on. Let me do this.